must-be seasoned mooters to have come here in the Viz pre-moot and to be selected for a Viz team. So if I say that, all of you are winners, you must have heard this number of times. Of course, all of you are winners in many ways. And today, whoever wins, it is only a beginning to a journey that you're going to entail in the next couple of weeks. So while, of course, that would give you a sense of encouragement and motivation, but don't be complacent, given the results of today. Even those teams who have been knocked out in the previous rounds, we've seen in the past, teams take these pre-moots, as a canvas. They take notes, they come back much better, brighter, taking all the feedback and their own performance and their own self-appraisal, and can perform far, far better than how they have performed in the pre-moots. So all these pre-moots are to test your capacity and capability, very similar to pre-boards. I'm sure that those don't exist anymore, so many of you might not have given pre-boards. Coming back to the rounds, the final rounds, I think all of us agreed on the quality that we saw was exceptional. All of you were absolutely on point. The preparation was visible. A very general feedback on what you may want to consider when you go for your Viz East or Viz West is that most of the tribunals would consist of a mixed sort of a set of arbitrators. You could also be before a tribunal with 2 civil law practitioners and 1 common law practitioner, or vice versa. What happens if you have more civil law practitioners? Their first language may not be English, and therefore your articulation and your fluency in English is not going to get you marks. That is, of course, advantageous, but what is going to get you marks is the pace that you maintain. You must see what sort of tribunal you are before and ensure that, unlike the moots that you do locally in India, where great advocacy gets you the first good impression, I have been visiting Viz West for last 7 years as an arbitrator, and I have seen, being part of the bench, that many times the civil law arbitrators take it little otherwise. They're not very pleased if the team is, very, very fast in the way that they argue, and the fluency is fine, but try and maintain a pace that is welcome by the tribunal. And you could very well in the first 10 minutes understand what pace you should maintain. So be conscious of it right from the beginning, that how you want to, do your advocacy before the tribunal. Second thing which I found was excellent amongst all 4 of you was mastery over the facts. I think, especially given the procedural aspects that you have to argue on, if you can master the facts, you can answer any sort of question. 90% of the questions will be answered from the facts, and all of you were very prompt in taking us to the relevant pages. It was great to see that. Sometimes I thought when I asked a question, and within a split second, there was the page to which one of you would take us to. It gave me a thought, maybe you were already moving on to that point, and my question was really an interruption. It was that great and seamless. Second thing that you may want to keep in mind is, at times there are questions, of course, not based on the facts that you have before you, but there are very logical and rational questions, right? So what do you do there? Out-of-the-box thinking, logical thinking, all of it depending on what the question is. For example, a question was put to Ruhan, right? That would you have proceeded with the contract if there was no arbitration clause? Now, there is no right or wrong answer to it. This question can be answered in many ways. The answer you don't want to give simply is to say that the problem is silent on it. Yes, you may say so, but still, you can give your own understanding. So that shows that all of you are able to think on your feet when these questions are being posed to you. Some of you might have done Viz before, some of you might have watched videos on YouTube. So be aware, unlike Indian moots, unlike moots that you do here, the grilling from the arbitral tribunal is far less. They are going to evaluate you on your performance and not on the basis of how well you answer the questions. However, of course, You have to be mentally prepared for the kind of questions that may come. Those questions are not coming to really grill you. Those questions will be coming to test sometimes, and sometimes for their own sake of clarity, because they might not have understood the argument and the context of it. So don't take all questions as a question to test or grill. There could be genuine questions, and that happens very, very often, that an arbitrator really has not understood how you're placing the case and is just asking for his own or her own sake of clarity. So, I mean, I'm asking too much, but you will be able to distinguish between these questions. And if you have full control over the facts of the problem, and you have thought about this problem like a story in your head, so logically and rationally also you'll be able to answer anything that's not really covered by the problem itself. So overall, a fantastic performance. All the best to everybody who's present here, irrespective of the results. Hope to see some of you in Vienna later this year. Thank you.
I think most of what I had to say is covered off, so I'll just keep it really short and really specific. So very well done. Clearly, you all have prepared for this, and you know your substance really well. Sorry, am I not audible? Sorry. Just a few pointers based on what I've seen here. It's not, it's very limited to what I've seen you argue here, right? So it may be person specific simply because of what's stuck in my mind. So Abhyud is saying. So I think the one thing that, the point that resonated with me in your submission was the fact that you were able to distinguish the fact that the drone was meant for, it's not the intent but the purpose. But that point was not coming out very clearly to me when you started off. So my suggestion in general, and with this as an example, is when you're making an argument where you have a distinction to draw, or you're setting up your case very differently from the other side, please make sure that you're being extremely clear in the way you present that, because you may have a great point to make, but the arbitrator may not actually get your point. Because we don't look at the problem and the rules in the kind of detail that you do. You spent a lot of time on this. You know this like the back of your hand. We don't. So we're being educated by you in that sense in every way. So when you have a great point to make, please make sure that point hits home the first time you say it, because then the tribunal is with you, right? The moment the tribunal is with you, it's going to be much easier to get them to go with your follow-on submissions. So that's one. Second, I think I must say that sort of quick thinking on both the claimants and the respondents' points for questions that came out of the box. So very well done on that. I thought that came out really, really well. Barring that, speed, like he emphasized. So again, you all know this like the back of your hand. You're very proficient in English, but just hold back on speed sometimes, because the tribunal may not be following you at the pace that you want them to. Again, the bottom line being having great arguments is not enough. You have to put them very clearly and make sure that your point hits home. So maybe those are the smaller soft points for you to look at, but otherwise, I mean, preparation-wise, you all have educated us today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I think it was just brilliant from all the four participants. As far as pace is concerned, I think, of course, my co-arbitrators and or my friends have already made it very clear. I think, Kevin, right, you were very good, no doubt, but just not that you, all four of you were very good. Quick thinking on the feet, and of course, you were using certain scientific terms, which also is good, I think, because sometimes the arbitrators or lawyer may not be experts, and there is some level of, it affects their mind in a positive manner, because that is not the concept they are very aware of. So it's good, because this is a matter like where you can actually use those terminology and use for the questions. But I have a suggestion for all four of you, but also for you, that be clear on facts. Because sometimes if a question is being asked and it forms part of the Moot memorial, then you should not say if you don't know the answer, say that I will have to check, rather than just in that moment giving an answer, which you did, which just wanted to tell you that you should be aware of facts. If you don't know the answer, it's absolutely fine to say that, okay, I will have to defer. That's all. All of you were great. Thank you.
Well, the good part of having three people speak before you is most of it is already taken care of. Well, to add to what everyone has just said, and 3 points, and only 3 points which I think the entire group here can possibly benefit with. One, sometimes keeping it simple is beneficial. Everything need not have a complicated, technical, verbose answer. It is okay to have a one-line answer which may hit the nail on head. Two, there is actually value to showing teamwork. While I know that behind the scenes, all of y'all have worked as a team, and that, well, each one of y'all have not only done your individual preparations, but assisted your friends and colleagues to reach where y'all have reached. The tribunal doesn't know that. Sometimes some bit of showing off of that, wherever you can, is helpful because there are marks for teamwork. And three, it is, as it's already been said, your proficiency in English may get you marks. Your proficiency in being able to clearly put your thoughts may give you marks. Depending on where your arbitrator is from, you may have to adopt a different approach. That is something, at least for the finals, I would ask you all to read up, and there is enough material on the web to read up on. So read up on that so that y'all are ready for the specific tribunal who y'all are before in the final rounds. I think everyone here otherwise has spoken about what y'all should do better, what y'all can do better, what y'all are already doing really well. I'd like to say that today's experience was very good. It was of the standard that one would expect at this forum. And I'd like to wish everyone all the best for the final rounds, which I'm sure you all will do even better in.
Not going to repeat anything which has already been said. Just one thing from my mooting experience, not as a arbitrator or lawyer experience, is that what is important sometimes is to come back to your own script. It gets a bit challenging when you are responding to something. That time we try and mix our own script with the responses that we might want to give. It's important, but at the same time, just do not get too embroiled in responding to somebody who has, in the process, what happens is that you may lose out in some of your own delivery. It could be a point better delivered. But what's important, I think, is to come back to your own script. That's one. And I think one thing which has already been said in some shape or form is that what is obvious to you, because you've been spending time on the problem, may not be that obvious and logical to everybody on the other side. So sometimes what's important is to read the judge and then give a response. You might have a better answer, maybe a better correct answer. That answer, say maybe for example, answer to query 20 would be a better hitting answer. But see the understanding of it that he might be at an elementary level. So give him as I think Aditya said, that maybe give a one-liner, simpler answer, that would, I think, satisfy the query. Just minor things, just keep in mind, otherwise all of you have been very good and fantastic opportunity for us also. All the best.
Thank you so much, respected arbitrators, for your valuable feedback. I would like to, on behalf of the organizing committee and the university administration, thank you so much for agreeing to arbitrate the grand finale rounds of the rounds. Now, I would like to inform that we have several members of our senior administration present here today. Professor Dr. S.G. Srijit and Professor Karan Latian, I thank you so much for joining us today. Professor Srijit is a professor and executive dean at Jindal Global Law School, and he holds a LLD with high honors from the University of Lapland, MPhil from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and MBL and LLB from the University of Kerala. Professor Karan Latian is an associate professor, assistant dean at Jindal Global Law School. He's also the program director of the 5-year and the 3-year LLB program, and is currently serving as the chief proctor and the director of the Moot Society. He currently possesses an LLM from NYU and also has a BA LLB from RGNUL. I would also like to introduce the faculty directors of the Moot Court Society, Professor Anmol and Professor Shantanu, as well as the faculty coordinator, Professor Shashank. Now, I would like to invite Professor Srijit on stage to felicitate our arbitrators. Thank you, Professor Srijit. Firstly, respected arbitrator, Mr. Aditya Vikram Jalan. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Vikas Kumar Jha. I would now like to invite Mr. Shashank Garg. I would now like to invite Ms. Sneha Janakiraman. I would now like to invite Mr. Toshit. Thank you so much. I would now like to invite Professor Srijit to address the gathering.
Good evening, everyone. I know that a speech is the most unwelcome thing at this point in time. I've been an ex-mooter 25 years back. I went to law school in Ice Ages. I went to Sydney all the way to represent India in Manfred Lax, only to hear that we haven't won. Anyway, that's part of the life. Well, I said a speech shall not be part of the mood, but unfortunately it is. Since it is part of the speech, since it is part of the event as much as a dinner, even though this is not going to be as delicious as a dinner, by way of this ritual, let me please reflect on a couple of things regarding the mood. Well, this is certainly not in my capacity as an ex-mooter, but in the capacity as the Dean of Jindal Global Law School. Number one, in the law school, we do offer a course on mooting and trial advocacy, but one of my primary concern has been that probably moot court is an underutilized pedagogy in the law schools. We really don't think about the teaching possibilities this offers, because this is an excellent alternative or probably an excellent parallel to the Socratic method in the classrooms. We do the mooting pretty much like a professor conducts a Socratic session in an American law school in the Langdalian model. Number one, we have been made to believe that mooting is all about oratory. It's about argumentation. And perhaps some of you might know that Lewis Carroll in Alice in Wonderland put this very sardonically through a verse. In my youth, I took to law and argued each case with my wife. The muscular strength it gave to my jaws has lasted the rest of my life. Well, this is very sardonically put. But we understand that in law school, we are not here simply to earn muscular jaws. But of course, mooting serves a much larger purpose. I felt that mooting definitely helps us to think through. That's why I have great admiration for the mooters, because you literally respond to questions by standing on the feed, but more importantly, on the periphery, you find those researchers who enable you to think through. So no wonder mooting is an art in research as well. But in American law schools, and obviously in some Indian law schools, there is a thinking that if you spend too much time for mooting, especially mooting as a pedagogy in the classrooms, it steals the valuable academic time. So you know that mooting is more clinical, and we shall not be spending more time on clinics. We should spend more time on courses like con law, juris, admin law, family law, and other substantive branches of law. Second, an American professor has referred that mooting is a game that lacks the real stuff. They are actually referring to that absence of that pedagogical element from the moot. Well, that's a misperception. This is all because of an overestimation about the simulatory possibilities of mooting. But then on that front too, we understand that mooting definitely leaves us desiring. Number one, mooting cannot literally capture the real temperature of a courtroom. We know that this is not how the real courtroom functions. There is so much of elitism, so much of syntheticity in a moot court. But then if you view it as a pedagogy, yes, it makes a lot of sense. It's a parallel to Socratic exercise, but really it doesn't help us understand the temperature of a courtroom. Second, the lawyer-client relationship or the lawyer-client interaction which shall precede a moot court. That's absolutely absent from a moot court. Number three, there is no ambience of a trial. But now we have found an alternative in the form of trial advocacy. And number three, the professional spirit which the lawyers often bring to the courtroom. Now, none of these are reasons enough to reject the moot court. I'm not making here a case for the moot court or against the moot court. Well, mooting will have to continue, and we definitely have to find that essential balance. One perception, the perception of mooting being a pedagogy and mooting being a simulation, these perceptions need not prevail over each other. We always can strike a fine balance in the law schools, which I'm sure that most of the law schools in India, including Jindal Global Law School, strikes. Now, I've submitted this because I'm still unable to let one prevail over the other. But often I've been confronted with this question, do we really need to do that? Of course, there are instances whereby professors teaching jurisprudence use mooting in their classrooms, where the real arguments will happen in the court of a philosopher king. Now, here it becomes a role play here because many times you have to use a language which was used in 300 BC or in 400 BC. But have you ever thought that what if an ancient court is recreated in a modern court? Well, I recently happened to see such a thought experiment, which probably the mooters should think about. This is, of course, a Malayalam movie with the name Mahavirya. In the movie, a time traveler is being charged of theft, and he is facing a trial in a court of law. Midway through the case, the judge, the lawyers, the clients, everybody is transposed to a medieval time. And now the judge has a forgetfulness of his constitutional and democratic values, and he starts to be subservient to that king against whom the case has been conducted. So you could see that, sometimes the democratic values, the constitutional values, the legal education we receive actually help us reclaim that memory, reclaim that oppression of the monarchy, which probably we were subject to at some point in time. Anyway, I just mentioned this because I love this thought experiment, because thought experiment is always like juxtaposing the ideal with the real, which probably might awaken us to the reality. Whatsoever, I'm a great admirer of Wismut, even though I never got an opportunity to participate in that during my lifetime as a student. What I love about the Wismut is that final juxtaposition of the two traditions. When they pair the judges, they make sure that, or when they pair the teams, they make sure that there is a team representing a civil law tradition always argues against the team representing the common law tradition. And this kind of a juxtaposition provides a fine interaction between the two traditions in a global time whereby we believe in the interactions of cultures. That's the beauty of the Wismut. I'm not sure how the pairing was done here, or did this type of an interaction really happen or not, because of course all of you come from the common law tradition. Whatsoever, it has been great pleasure hosting all of you here. I thank all the judges for taking the valuable time from their professional life. I thank all my wonderful colleagues associated with the Moot Court Society of Jindal Global Law School, all my student volunteers, all the other students here, also all the participants. Of course, we are all smaller scheme of things before this larger scheme of things called you. So I take this opportunity on behalf of Jindal Global Law School to welcome you. I know that you're waiting for something. I should not be talking more, because if I talk more, it will get dirty. So I stop here and looking forward to hear the name of the winner, and good luck to the winner. But please don't be disappointed if you don't win. Well, these are, again, smaller things in the larger scheme of things, winning or losing. And this is coming from the mouth of somebody who traveled all the way to Sydney to lose to National University of Singapore bitterly. So good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Srijit, for those enlightening words. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, I would like to invite Professor Saibnur Singh Sidhu, Assistant Dean, Office of Student Affairs and Initiatives, to announce all the results.
Hello. Good evening. I can already see some very hateful eyes hating on me for making you wait a little longer. So I think I'll just simply cut to the chase. The first award we will be announcing will be for the best speaker. I request Mr. Toshit Chandelia to please present the award. I will not ask for any guesses because that, of course, also can get ugly. Um, the winner for the best speaker is Kevin Santosh from the Government Law College, Mumbai. The room may not be full of people, but I think it should still stay full of applause. So please, guys. Thank you, sir. Now, I'm going to announce the winner of the 13th Indian Whiz Pre-Moot competition. I request Mr. Vikas Jha and Ms. Neha Janki Raman to please present this magnanimous trophy to the winning team. The winning team is Government Law College, Mumbai, claimant. In my limited experience, I realized that silence can be a little awkward. Let's just fill it with applause. Congratulations to the team winning, and now absolutely not the least, the runners-up for this competition is the National Academy of Legal Studies and Research, Hyderabad, and I request Mr. Aditya Jalan to please present them with the trophy. Many congratulations and thank you so much, sir. I think I'll just pass the dice back to Pranav.
Thank you so much, Professor Saibnur. I would just like, thank you so much, teams. I would now like to invite Mayank Agarwal to just give a vote of thanks.
I'd sincerely like to thank our stellar panel of arbitrators today for taking the time out on a weekend to come and judge the grand final rounds of the 13th Indian Whiz pre-moot. I'd also like to take the time to thank our preliminary judges, quarterfinals and semi-final round judges for taking the time out this weekend, help students prepare for the 30th William C. Whiz Moot Vienna and the 20th William C. Whiz East Moot. I'd also like to extend my sincere gratitude to members of the JGU administration, Professor C. Rajkumar, for always expanding on horizons with the magnitude of opportunities, such as hosting the pre-moot and participating in various other pre-moots. I would like to thank Professor Indrajit, Professor Patnaik, and Professor Srijit for their constant support and guidance. I would also like to thank the faculty board of the Moot Court Society, specifically directors Karan Latian and Professor Menika, our assistant directors, Professor Anmol and Shantanu, and Professor Shashank and Sahib Noor. I would also like to thank the participants for their enthusiasm and zeal. I express my sincere gratitude to all the volunteers who have showed up over the last 3 days and helped us make this event a success. I would also specifically like to thank all members of the student WIS-OC, specifically Bala, Amani, Devanshi, Shivam, Pranav, Shreya, Harshita, and Aditya. I would also like to thank Faizan for conducting the arbitrators briefing over the last 2 days. Last but not the least, I have to thank the supporting IT teams, food teams, mess teams, accommodation teams of the administration, without which all the background work that we have done to make this event happen today would not have happened. This brings me to the conclusion of the valedictory ceremony. I hope that we were able to provide a good experience for all the arbitrators and participants involved, and we hope to see you all next year as well. Thank you.